Hello, everyone, and welcome to Quiz and Hers, the podcast where we test each other's knowledge and the strength of our relationship. I'm Hallie, and I'm here with my fiance, Justin.
Hello.
Hi. And this is the second episode of Season 4. If you've randomly decided to start with this episode, I will tell you how it works. Basically, in each episode, one person asks the other 6 questions. It's my turn to ask the questions today. And these 6 questions are from the categories times and places, sounds and screens, arts and literature, nope, I said that already.
Yes, you did.
Sports and games, science and everything else. And all the questions are tied together with a common theme. Basically, I'll ask the question and then I'll talk a little bit about each answer. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that about covers it.
I think so.
All right, you ready to start?
You're up 2-0.
Yes, I'm up 2-0 because Justin hasn't had a turn to get a million questions right yet.
No, I haven't.
We'll see.
Okay.
All right. So, the theme today is Monster Mash.
Monster Mash.
And it's not even Halloween.
Okay. What is it?
It's about monsters.
Oh, so you're just ripping off my dragons episode. That's cool. Thanks.
No. Good. No dragons. No dragons are involved in the making of this podcast.
Okay.
It's all mythical creatures and monsters.
You mean like dragons?
No, there are no dragons.
Okay.
Nothing about dragons. Nothing related to dragons.
All right. Bring it on.
Maybe I didn't want to be so specific.
Okay.
Like you talking about animals in space.
I'm very proud that I was able to come up with 6 questions for that theme.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay,
right,
are you ready to start?
Yep, I'm ready.
All right, so today we are going to start off with a science question.
Okay.
What genetics term used to describe a single organism which has cells with distinct genotypes is also the name of a mythological creature that is a lion with the head of a goat coming out of its back and a tail ending in a snake's head?
Chimera.
Oh, well, that's not how I say it.
Okay, that's how I say it. But chimera, is that how you say it?
Sure.
No one agrees on how to say it, but yes, Chimera.
Yes, you're right.
I know.
I say chimera.
Okay, I say chimera.
That's too fancy.
Okay.
All right, so now that we all know what a chimera is, let's talk about the different types. So, science, not mythology.
Not mythology.
Sorry.
No, that's fair.
This is a science question.
Yep.
Both animals and plants can be chimeras. In animals, chimeras are produced when multiple fertilized eggs merge. An animal can also have cells with distinct genotypes that come from just one zygote, but this is called a mosaic, not a chimera. Do you understand?
Yeah, I've heard of that, actually. The mosaicism, it's called, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But that only involves one zygote. This is like 2 fertilized eggs that merge.
Okay.
Chimeras.
Yep. Okay.
Chimerism in animals can also happen after an organ transplant, like when a bone marrow transplant can give the recipient a different blood type.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. In non-identical twins, chimerism can happen from blood vessel anastomoses, which are basically connections between branching blood vessels. You can basically just describe chimerism as 2 non-identical twins that merge, but that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I would not put it that way. There is also an increased chance of chimerism in vitro fertilization, I assume because more embryos are involved in the first place.
Yep, sure.
So that makes it simpler for them to merge.
Right, okay.
Chimeras can reproduce, but the genes passed on to a chimera's offspring depends on which of its cell lines gave rise to its ovaries or testes.
Oh, yeah, I never thought of that. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
Yep. Most chimeras go through life without even knowing it, though. Some may have cells of different blood types or have both male and female sex organs. Actually, though, most chimeras with both female and male cells are not intersex, so they wouldn't even know.
Okay. Well, because the male or female genetic line produces the sex characteristics,
right?
But then
It's
there's
rare.
Other parts of the body that come from the other cell line.
Yeah, like
or the other genetic line.
unrelated.
Yeah.
Chimeras may also have heterochromia, which is 2 different color eyes or different hair and skin colors. One unique trait in chimeras is something called Blaschko's lines, which are marks on the back that look like arrows pointing down from the shoulders to the lower back. And that's like unique to chimeras.
Huh.
In humans.
Never heard of that.
Yeah. Male tortoise-shell cats and calico cats are also examples of chimeras. Also, it turns out that most marmosets are actually chimeras, sharing DNA with their fraternal twins. Marmosets are those little monkeys native to South America, if you're wondering. But yeah, most of them are chimeras, which is cool.
Huh. Interesting.
Yep. I don't know why. Anyway, there must be some evolutionary reason, but I don't know.
Well, or it's just some weird accidental product of evolution.
Right.
Not everything that evolves really does so for a reason. Sometimes things just happen, but yeah.
Yeah. So chimerism actually has caused some problems for DNA testing for legal purposes. In one case, it was found that a woman named Lydia Fairchild did not share DNA with her own children. Her custody of her children was even challenged until they realized that she was a chimera and found that her cervical DNA matched that of her children.
That is weird.
Isn't that weird?
Yes.
Like, how can you challenge a woman's custody? Like, the child was her child.
Right, she gave birth to it.
It's not like challenging a man's
right.
like paternal DNA. Like, literally, that those kids came out of her vagina.
That's fascinating.
I mean, obviously, that doesn't have to be your kid, but still, like, what are
but
the
there was
odds
no
that you would have...
surrogacy or anything. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Pretty crazy.
Huh.
So most humans have something called microchimerism, which is having a few cells that are genetically different from the host cells. This is because most people usually are born with a few cells genetically identical to their mothers, but the number goes down with age in healthy individuals.
Does that have to do with like mitochondrial DNA and like how that's shared with the mother, or is that different?
No, it's different.
Okay.
Like these are like whole cells that share exact DNA with your mom, whereas mitochondria are always from your mom and they're not cells, they're organelles
in the cell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep. In deep sea anglerfish called ceratioid anglerfish, chimerism is part of their natural life cycle. Adult males, which are less than an inch in length, bite. This is so gross. I'm sorry. They bite into the female's skin and release an enzyme that digests the skin of his mouth and her body, actually fusing them together at the blood vessel level.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of this.
Yeah. So they fuse into one hermaphroditic individual so that basically it makes it easier for him to fertilize her eggs.
Right.
But it's like super gross. I don't know.
That is weird.
Technically, that's a chimera.
I mean, I'd say that some people would argue that we've fused into one individual, but I don't think they mean it in exactly that way.
No, not literally. Just figuratively.
Yep.
And lastly, in plant chimeras, the difference in cells is usually due to a mutation during cell division of one zygote, not from the merging of multiple zygotes. Grafting genetically different parents, different species, or different cultivars produces a chimera. An example of this is what's called a family tree, which has different varieties of apples or pears grafted onto the same tree.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this.
So technically, that's a chimera.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yep.
Does that mean that, like, wine grapes that have been grafted onto different rootstocks are chimeras? I guess technically, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we talked about that in your wine episode briefly.
A long time ago.
Way back in season 1, yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. All right, ready for question 2?
Yep.
Times and places.
Okay.
The Batutut, I hope I said that right, also known as forest people, are a group of creatures believed to be seen in wilderness areas of Vietnam, northern Borneo, and what landlocked Southeast Asian country, which translates to land of a million elephants.
Okay. All right, which countries were in the question?
Vietnam and northern Borneo.
Okay. Laos?
Is that your final answer?
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You stink. You're too good at this. I suck. All right. Laos is officially called the Lao People's Democratic Republic, and its colloquial name is Muang Lao. It is bordered by China and Myanmar to the northwest, Vietnam to the east, Cambodia to the southwest, and Thailand to the west and southwest. The Mekong River forms most of its western boundary with Thailand, and the mountains of the Annamite Range form most of its eastern border with Vietnam. There are 2 large plateaus in Laos, the Shang Koang in the north and the Bolavin Plateau in the south. It has a tropical savanna climate with a monsoon climate pattern. Throwback to my discussion about monsoons.
Yeah, was that the last episode last season?
I think so. Yeah, it was recently. The capital of Laos is Vientiane, and its other major cities are Luang Prabang, Savannakhet, and Paxi, I guess. It has 17 provinces and 1 prefecture, which includes the capital. The history of Laos goes back to the kingdom of a million elephants called Lanshang. It was founded by the Lao prince Pha Nhum in the 14th century when he and 10,000 Khmer troops took Vientiane. In 1373, his ministers exiled him to Thailand due to his brutality, and his son Un Huan ascended to the throne under the name Samson Tai and ruled for 43 years. After Samson Tai's death, Lanshang split into warring factions for 100 years until in 1520, Photis Sarath, I'm sorry if I'm saying these wrong, took the throne and moved the capital from Luang Prabang to Vientiane to avoid a Burmese invasion. In 1548, he was killed and his son, Settharat, became king and ordered the construction of Pha That Luang, a gold-covered Buddhist dome in Vientiane. It's still there.
That's cool.
Yep.
These names are breaking my brain.
Me too. I'm sorry. I'm trying. In 1637, Laos's golden age began when Sorigna Vongsa ascended the throne. When he died, Lanshang split into 3 kingdoms. Then, in the 1760s, Burmese armies invaded and Chow Anuvong was installed as vassal king of Vientiane by the Siamese. In 1826, he rebelled against the Siamese, but he failed and Vientiane was ransacked. In the late 19th century, Luang Prabang was pillaged by the Chinese Black Flag Army. Then, France ended up adding Luang Prabang to the Protectorate of French Indochina, followed by Vientiane. In the early 20th century, the French encouraged Vietnamese to migrate to Laos, and by 1943, most of the populations of Laos's cities were actually Vietnamese.
Why were they encouraged to migrate there?
I don't know. It had something to do with the population size, and I don't really. I think they just wanted more people to move there.
Okay.
Where was I? On March 9th, 1945, a nationalist group declared Laos independent with Luang Prabang as its capital. But then Japanese troops took over the city the next month. Japan then surrendered later that year, and the Lao nationalists declared independence again, but French troops reoccupied the country in early 1946. In the First Indochina War, the Indochinese Communist Party formed the Pathet Lao Independence Organization. In 1950, the French gave them semi-autonomy within the French Union. Laos finally gained full independence in October 22, 1953. In 1955, the U.S. containment policy created a special programs evaluation office to replace French support of the Royal Lao Army against the communist Pathet Lao. In 1962, a large-scale civil war broke out between the Royal Laotian government and the Pathet Lao, who were backed militarily by the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong. The U.S. bombarded the Pathet Lao and invaded the People's Army of Vietnam forces to prevent the collapse of the Royal Kingdom of Lao government. Between 1964 and 1973, the U.S. dropped 2 million tons of bombs on Laos, making Laos the most heavily bombed country in history relative to its population.
Jeez.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Yeah.
You never hear about this either.
I know. I haven't heard about any of this.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow.
In 1975, the Pathet Lao overthrew the royalist Lao government and forced the king to abdicate. They renamed the country the Lao People's Democratic Republic, with Kason Phomvihane, I guess, as its leader. In 1977, they signed a treaty with Vietnam so that Vietnam can be involved in all aspects of Lao politics. So basically, it's like still a communist country.
Right. It's like a client state almost of Vietnam, it sounds like?
I think so.
Huh.
Yeah, it's weird.
Interesting.
It's a weird situation.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready for the next question?
Yep.
All right, question 3. Arts and literature. What Flemish painter, heavily influenced and occasionally employed by Peter Paul Rubens, painted several works of art inspired by mythology, including Pegasus and the even more famous Prometheus?
Ooh. I don't think I know this. I think I should know this. It seems like you gave me a lot of ways to know it. You said Flemish, associated with Rubens, mythology, Prometheus, but I don't think I know. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know this either.
Okay.
I was surprised.
Who is it?
It's Jacob Jordaens.
Jacob Jordaens.
Yeah, Jordaens. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Jordaens.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I know that name.
Well, you're about to learn.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
Jacob Jordaens was born on May 19th, 1593 in Antwerp to Jacob Jordaens Sr., a wealthy linen merchant, and Barbara von Wolfschatten. I love that name.
Wolfschatten?
Not Wolf, Wolfschatten.
Oh.
There's no F.
No, that's much better.
Still a cool name. Not much is known about his early education, but he had good handwriting, was competent in French, and was obviously knowledgeable about mythology, so he probably had a pretty good education.
Mm-hmm.
Adam van Noort, who also taught Peter Paul Rubens, was his teacher. He spent his training living in Van Noort's house and became close with his family. He actually ended up marrying Van Noort's eldest daughter, Anna Catharina van Noort, in 1616. After he trained with Van Noort for 8 years, Jacob went to the Guild of St. Luke as a waterschilder? I don't know.
What?
It means watercolor artist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just like that word. In 1618, he bought a house near where he grew up in Antwerp. Later, in 1639, he bought the house next door to have more space to work, because he was rich.
Right. I'm getting that sense.
Yeah. Although he wasn't able to make the trip to Italy to study classical and Renaissance art, he studied whatever works he could see in Northern Europe. He did a lot of oil paintings and also tapestry work, and he also taught at the Guild of St. Luke later on, where he had gone.
Yeah.
Like I said in the question, Jordaens sometimes worked for Rubens, reproducing small sketches in a larger format. Similar to Rubens, Jordaens used naturalism, a warm palette, and the chiaroscuro and tenebrism techniques. If you're wondering, chiaroscuro is contrasting light and dark, and tenebrism is basically just doing that to the extreme. Like really light and really dark.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know it. I've heard chiaroscuro.
It.
I've never heard of tenebrism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jordaens' works were more realistic than Rubens', though. They were also busier and more burlesque than Rubens'. And if you didn't know, burlesque is not just a word for a dancer, it is also a work that is intended to amuse people by caricaturing a more serious work.
Huh.
I never knew that before.
Me neither.
And I was trying to find out why the name for burlesque dancers is related to this, and I cannot. I don't know.
Huh, that's fascinating.
Please contact us if you know. I'm curious.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second, but yeah.
What?
I said we'll get to the contact stuff in a minute, but yes, I would very much like to know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
So Jordaens painted many portraits as well as animals. After Rubens died and Jordaens became the new leading artist in Antwerp, he received royal commissions, mainly from the north. Near the end of his life, Jordaens converted to Reformed Protestantism, which was forbidden in Antwerp because it was occupied by Spain at the time. Jordaens died in October 1678 from something that they called Antwerp disease or sweating sickness. It is still not really known what caused it, but it was some sort of virus. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
I tried looking this up too. I could not find much.
I've heard of this, yeah.
And Jordaens' unmarried daughter Elizabeth died on the same day from the same disease, and they were buried north of Antwerp where Jordaens' wife was already buried.
Shit.
Yeah. And just to finish up, his most famous paintings are Prometheus, The King Drinks, The Four Evangelists, and As the Old Sing, So Pipe the Young. I like that name.
As the what?
As the Old Sing, So Pipe the Young.
Okay.
Like old people singing, young people playing instruments, but like said in a very fun way.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard of any of that, so.
You've definitely seen the Prometheus painting.
I can't picture it. I believe you. I can't picture it.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. We've already done like the big artists. We got to go to the next level now.
I don't know. There's still a bunch of big ones we haven't talked about. But
I feel like it's good to do this level because it's like famous enough that it's trivia relevant, but not so famous that you already know everything about
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so time for a little intermission.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, just a little more about us and where you can find us. We are at quizandhers@gmail.com. We are Quiz and Hers on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and we should be on every podcast platform. So, leave us a review. Let us know what you think.
Yep.
Anything else?
Yeah, if you like the show, get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you guys.
We're on YouTube.
Just search Quiz and Hers. You'll find it.
And you'll see it's new this season. We've added to the show notes all the questions and the time stamps for all the questions in case you want to look at the questions before you start the game and or skip to a certain question.
Right. Like if you find Hallie's science questions to be just dreadfully boring, you can skip over them. No,
I thought that one was
I'm
pretty
kidding.
good.
I'm kidding.
Some of them are very boring, but
No,
I think that one
I liked that one. That was really interesting.
I mean, certain things are boring. I'm sorry. There's nothing I can do.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah. No, that was an interesting one, though. The
Thank you.
chimeras, that was
I
cool.
liked it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for
to it.
listening. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
All
right. You ready for question 4?
Yep. So I have 2 correct answers so far, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Question 4. Sports and games.
Okay.
A mythical creature with 2 hooved legs and wings believed to inhabit the Pine Barrens in the southern part of its home state also lends its name to the only professional sports team in that state. Name the state. I mean, name the team. Don't name the state. Name the state and the team.
Wait, what? I have to name both?
No, fine. You can just name the team.
Okay. I mean, I assume I will have to figure out the state in order to figure out the team anyway, but okay.
Probably.
So, all right. Pine Barrens, hooved legs and wings. The only professional sports team in a state. Wow. This is tough. Okay, so... I don't know.
Do you have a guess?
No, I don't think I do.
It is the New Jersey Devils.
Ah, okay. I see. Oh, yeah, okay. That's a good question.
Thank you. I like it. So I'm going to talk to you about the New Jersey Devils.
Sure, why not?
If you don't know, I realize I didn't really say this in the beginning. It's a hockey team. NHL.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know.
Yeah. Although you could argue that is not the only professional sports team in New Jersey.
It's not the only sports team that plays in New Jersey, but is the only New Jersey sports team.
It's the only team affiliated with a New Jersey location.
Correct.
All right, fair enough.
All the other teams are New York.
They just play in New Jersey.
Because there used to be the New Jersey Nets, but now they're the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah. But both New York City NFL franchises technically play their home games in New Jersey.
Right, but that's not what I said. I didn't say the only sports team that plays in the state. I said it's only sports team of the state.
Okay.
In the state, whatever.
All right.
The New Jersey Devils began as the Kansas City Scouts from Kansas City, Missouri in 1974. In their first season, they finished last in their division and second to last in the NHL, with only the Washington Capitals having fewer points that season. Suck it, Caps. Anyway, in their next season, they scored even fewer points and had a 27-game losing streak, which is the second longest losing streak ever in NHL history after the Winnipeg Jets. They lost more games one season.
Okay.
After their second season, they moved to Denver and were renamed the Colorado Rockies. 60 games into the season, the Rockies were looking like they'd go to the playoffs, but after losing 18 games, they finished last in their division.
Jeez.
Yeah. In the following season, they actually did make it to the playoffs, but were eliminated by the Philadelphia Flyers in the first round. They never made it to the playoffs again in Colorado, and before the 1978-79 season, they were sold to Arthur Imperatore, a New Jersey trucking magnate. He wanted to bring the team to Jersey, but there were 3 other teams in the area, and the arena in the Meadowlands was still under construction. So they ended up staying in Denver for 2 more seasons. Then they were sold to a group headed by John McMullen, who also owned the MLB's Houston Astros. On June 30th, 1982, the team was renamed the New Jersey Devils. The name was chosen in a contest in which over 10,000 people voted. Like I said, it was named after the legend of the Jersey Devil, believed to be a kangaroo-like creature with a horse-like head, horns, wings like a bat, small arms with claws, a forked tail, and cloven hooves.
Yeah, I've heard of this thing. You know what? I think I've heard that the New Jersey Devils were named for this creature before, too. I just couldn't put it together when you asked the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So the legend goes that a woman named Mother Leeds had 12 children and then said that the 13th would be the devil, and it was born a normal child but quickly changed into this creature. That's the weird legend.
Okay.
I don't know where this comes from, but...
Same place all legends come from, everywhere and nowhere.
Exactly. Kind of interesting.
They just sort of develop on their own. They have their own lives, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, their first game ended in a tie against the Pittsburgh Penguins, with their first goal being scored by Don Lever. Their first victory was in New Jersey against the Rangers. Boo.
Ha.
Boo.
Cop that, Rangers.
No. However, their first season was not great, and they came in second to last in their division, the Patrick Division.
Seems like there's a lot of that going around with them so far in this story.
It'll get a little better. In the next season, they were criticized by Wayne Gretzky after he and the Oilers beat them 13-4.
Whoa.
Gretzky said they were, quote, putting a Mickey Mouse operation on the ice. He later said that he felt bad about saying that because he's actually a really nice person. I can't believe he said that.
That's pretty savage.
I think he couldn't believe that he said it either. He later apologized a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really funny.
Yeah.
After that season, they continued to improve, but they still couldn't make the playoffs until finally the 1987-88 team pulled out their first winning record.
Jeez.
Yeah. In the last game of the season, they were tied with their rivals, the Rangers, for the final playoff spot from the Patrick Division. Although both teams finished with 82 points, the Devils had 2 more wins, so they went to the playoffs. They made it to the Wales Conference Finals, but lost to the Boston Bruins. In the next 4 seasons, they had 4 different coaches, none of whom worked out. In 1993, they hired Jacques Lemaire, former head coach of the Montreal Canadiens. That season, they scored 106 points, second behind the Rangers in the Atlantic Division. The 2 teams met in the Eastern Conference Finals, and after being up 3-2, they lost to the Rangers in the 6th game and then lost in double overtime in Game 7.
Woof.
Woo! Sorry.
Jeez.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, they were, like, winning, and then the Rangers just destroyed them. I'm so mean.
Doesn't sound like they destroyed them at all. It sounds like it was actually pretty darn close.
Yes, it was close. I think this is when they won the Stanley Cup. Oh, no, the Rangers won the Stanley Cup in 94. So it was the next year.
Okay.
Oh, no, that was the year they won because it was the 93-94 season. They were beat by the Rangers, and then the Rangers won the Stanley Cup that year.
Okay.
The following year, the Devils won their first ever Stanley Cup against the Detroit Red Wings. For the rest of the 90s, they didn't even make the playoffs, though.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, they had their one good season. Finally, in the 2000 playoffs, the Devils beat the Flyers after being down 3-1 to win their second Stanley Cup. They made the Stanley Cup Finals again the following year, but lost to the Colorado Avalanche. They won the Stanley Cup again, though, in the 03-04 season against the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim. Since then, the Devils have not won a Stanley Cup. In the 2017-2018 season, they clinched a playoff spot for the first time since the 2011-2012 season, but they lost in the first round to the Tampa Bay Lightning. At the end of the season, forward Taylor Hall became the first player in franchise history to win the Hart Memorial Trophy.
Which is the Hart Memorial Trophy again? It's the league MVP?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that was the first time a Devils player won it.
Cool.
Even though they didn't win the Stanley Cup, but they have 3 Stanley Cup wins, so
yeah.
It's pretty good.
I always get the names of the NHL awards mixed up because they're all named for people.
Go back to the Wayne Gretzky episode because he won all of the awards, and then you can learn them.
That's why it was hard to tell them apart, because you were just like, oh, and he won all of them every year
but
forever.
I think I talked about which was which, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so you can go back to my... that's the wine episode,
The wine episode, yeah. Episode 2 of...
Such a hit.
Excuse me, episode 4 of season 1, I believe.
Such a great episode. Anyway, if you like wine and hockey, it's a great episode.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for question 5?
Yep.
It is everything else.
Okay.
Hopefully I can pronounce this.
Oh boy.
I'm struggling today. Why'd I do this to myself? Anyway, the ghatotkacha, a mythical creature with a head shaped like a percussion instrument called a ghatam, is part of Hindu mythology and is mentioned in what Sanskrit epic? The longest epic poem known, which is part of the Itihasa.
Okay. So, it's the long one. So, it must be the Ramayana?
Was that your final answer?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, fuck. Which
I was
one
going to
is
say along with the Ramayana, but then I decided that was too easy because you know this stuff. It's the Mahabharata.
Yeah, that's right. The Mahabharata.
Mahabharata. Say it again.
Mahabharata?
Mahabharata.
I think so.
This is exactly like the Odyssey episode where I had to change my mental pronunciation. Mahabharata.
So wait, the Mahabharata is longer than the Ramayana?
Yes, it is the longest epic poem known.
I always thought it was the other way. Huh, okay.
But we're going to talk about all of it. Might as well.
What, Hinduism?
No, not all of Hinduism. All of the Itihasa.
Oh, okay.
We're going to talk about the Ramayana too.
Oh, okay.
The Mahabharata and the Ramayana make up the Itihasa, which also sometimes includes the Puranas. Not piranhas, Puranas.
Not the fish?
Not the fish.
Okay.
It's other poems.
Okay.
The Mahabharata tells the story of the Kurukshetra war and keeps the traditions of the lunar dynasty. The Ramayana has the story of Rama and the legends of the solar dynasty. The Puranas narrate the overall history as perceived by the Hindus. All the sources of the stories are considered primary sources, and the authors of the Mahabharata and the Ramayana are both characters in their own stories.
Huh. That's cool.
Yeah. The Mahabharata was written by Dvaipayana Veda Vyas, aka Vyasa, who is also the scribe of the Vedas and the Puranas, the Vedas being the most ancient Hindu scriptures.
Yeah.
It is believed that it originated between the 8th and 9th centuries BCE, although it didn't become its final version until the 4th century. It is divided into 18 parvas or books, each of which tells a different story. The main story of the Mahabharata is that of two branches of a family seeking the throne of Hastinapura, which is ruled by the Kuru clan. The two branches of the family are the Kaurava and the Pandava. The struggle for power culminates in the Battle of Kurukshetra, which I mentioned before, and the Pandavas win. The Mahabharata was one of the first times the theory of just war was brought up, which was later studied by military leaders, ethicists, theologians, and policymakers. The word for this in Sanskrit is dharmayuddha. It means just war.
Yeah.
Now on to the Ramayana. The Ramayana was written by Ratnakarda Valmiki, a Sanskrit poet. It is estimated the earliest texts range from the 7th to the 4th centuries BCE. Like I said, it tells the story of Rama, the prince of the Kosala kingdom. When Rama's father, Dasharatha, gets old, he decides he wants to crown Rama. On the eve of the coronation, Dasharatha's first wife, Kaikeyi, demands that Rama be exiled to the forests near Kosala for 14 years so that the succession could pass on to her own son, Bharata. Bharata actually feels bad about the whole thing and goes to the forest to ask Rama to come back and rule, but Rama refuses to return because of his father's order. He's respecting his father.
Right.
Rama is in exile with his wife Sita and his sister Lakshmana. The rest of the story describes Rama's war with Ravana, a demon king, which ends when Rama kills Ravana. The Ramayana seems to have pervaded popular culture a lot more than the Mahabharata has. There have been movies, plays, and TV series all based on the stories in the Ramayana.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll finish with a little more info about the Itihasa. So there are some very old religious texts from ancient India written in Sanskrit called the Vedas, which I mentioned.
Yep.
And they're the oldest texts of Hinduism. And according to the Vedas, human history goes in cycles between periods of evolution and dissolution. They say time is divided into 4 ages, which are Sata Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dvapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, which together form one Mahayuga, or one cycle. 71 Mahayugas make up a Manvantara, over which a Manu presides. The Manu is the first man and first king and lawgiver of that period. 14 Manvantara make up a Kalpa, or Eon, which ends in the periodic destruction called Pralaya, after which a new evolution begins. So they don't think time is like purely linear. Mm-hmm. They believe it's cycles.
Right, okay.
And the cycles are these, there's like different, obviously, periods within that.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Should have gotten that.
Yep.
Okay.
So you have 2.
Yep.
And I got 2 in the last game, so
yep.
We're just making our game super hard now, I guess.
Apparently.
All right. Are you ready for the last question?
Yep.
I'm worried this is too hard now, but I only got 2, so it's probably okay. If we're just making harder games now, maybe we'll just both try to make it a little easier next time. All right. Question 6, sounds and screens. Godzilla, probably the most famous monster in popular culture, has starred in 35 films, 32 of which are owned by the Japanese production company Toho. What Japanese film genre, which uses a lot of special effects and contains the subgenre kaiju, does the Godzilla franchise belong to?
Oh. The subgenre kaiju.
Yeah, kaiju is a subgenre of this main Japanese genre with like all the...
I thought the answer was going to be kaiju.
Sorry.
Shit.
I thought that would be too easy.
Shonen.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, what is it?
Tokusatsu.
Tokusatsu. Yeah, okay.
It's funny. I realized it's funny because we're both talking about Japanese popular culture things because you just talked about Mario in your last game.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's fun. And you had a whole episode about Japan.
I did.
There's a lot of good stuff, I guess.
That was a fun one. I liked that episode.
Yeah, that was fun. So I'm sure you already know a lot about this, but I didn't. And I'm sure some of our listeners don't either. The name Godzilla comes from the Japanese words gorira, meaning gorilla, and kujira, meaning whale. In Japanese, his name is pronounced Gojira, which was anglicized as Godzilla, so it would be easier for people to pronounce. Godzilla is part of the Japanese film genre called tokusatsu, and in the subset called kaiju, just like I said. And basically, the kaiju subset of tokusatsu specifically features giant monsters like Godzilla who attack major cities and fight other monsters.
Yep.
Godzilla first appeared in Ishiro Honda's 1954 movie titled Godzilla, and has since appeared in 32 films as well as many video games, novels, comic books, and TV shows. He is usually depicted as a huge and dangerous prehistoric sea monster who is awakened by nuclear radiation. The art director Akira Watanabe, who designed Godzilla, used different design aspects from a Tyrannosaurus, Iguanodon, Stegosaurus, and alligator. He also used keloid scars from victims of Hiroshima as a reference for Godzilla's skin texture.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Oh, well.
And sometimes in comics, Godzilla is depicted as green, but in the movies, the costumes were usually painted charcoal gray. Godzilla's main weapon is his atomic heat beam, which is nuclear energy generated inside him and released from his mouth as a red or blue beam.
Yep.
His size has also changed a lot between films. In the original 1954 film, he was scaled to be 50 meters or 164 feet tall. But in the 1956 American version, he was estimated to be 122 meters or 400 feet tall, which is a huge difference.
Yep.
In the later Japanese films, he was made as tall as 100 meters so that he was always taller than the new, bigger buildings in Tokyo. So basically, they were just keeping his size up with the latest skyscrapers.
Right. Well, it's not very intimidating if he's just wandering around.
No.
Like, and the buildings are taller than he is, and he's just kind of like pushing them, trying to knock them over, but they're too big.
Correct. So now I'll talk a little more about the specific films. And like I said, the first one in 1954 was just called Godzilla. For its North American release in 1956, new footage was added, and it was renamed Godzilla King of the Monsters. The first 15 films released between 1954 and 1975 are considered the Showa period. Is that what you said for your answer?
No.
It was close to that. Anyway.
I've read about this before, but I don't remember it.
Okay, I'll tell you. Most of the films were made comical for children, and Godzilla became a friendlier anti-hero. The exceptions to this were Godzilla, Godzilla Raids Again, Mothra vs. Godzilla, and Terror of Mechagodzilla. Those were not friendly for kids.
Yeah.
Godzilla's archenemy for the rest of the film series, King Ghidorah, was introduced in Ghidorah, the Three-Headed Monster in 1964. Haruo Nakajima portrayed Godzilla in most of these movies until he retired in 1972. I thought that would be a fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
After 1975, the series was rebooted by Toho in 1984 with The Return of Godzilla. This started the second era of Godzilla films known as the Heisei series, which included 7 films that went up to 1995. The Return of Godzilla was a direct sequel to the original 1954 film and ignores everything from the rest of the Showa period.
Mm-hmm.
Kenpachiro Satsuma portrayed Godzilla in these films. During this series, more about the science behind Godzilla's origin was shown, and they focused more on the genetics aspect of it. Like basically how he came to be genetically.
Right, yeah.
The next series, called the Millennium series, was another reboot by Toho in 1999 with the film Godzilla 2000, Millennium. Because everything around that time was named after the millennium.
Yep, everything.
Yeah. And these 6 films, which went up
and we all know that it's all aged super well.
Of course it has. Everything is just about the millennium. These 6 films, which went up to 2004, are more of an anthology series in which each film is in its own timeline. Godzilla was portrayed by Tsutomu Kitagawa in most of those films. And the current period of Godzilla films, which doesn't have a name yet, includes 4 movies so far and began in 2016. The latest one, called Godzilla the Planet Eater, was released in November of 2018. Toho's chief Godzilla officer, apparently that's his real title. That's
fantastic.
I know. Like, what do you do? Oh, I'm a CGO. And what is a CGO? Oh, it's the chief Godzilla officer. I think that's so amazing.
That's incredible.
They actually gave him that title. His name is Keiji Ota. He said that they are planning on starting a shared universe between Godzilla and the other Toho monsters called World of Godzilla, which will begin in 2021. Because everybody has to have a shared universe these days.
Yep.
Speaking of which...
It's the new millennium thing. Everything was the millennium in
now
2000. Everything's a shared universe now.
Yeah. And speaking of shared universes,
Okay.
There have also been several American Godzilla films.
Yep.
The first one that wasn't an adaptation was just called Godzilla and was released in 1998 and was directed by Roland Emmerich.
And it was fucking atrocious.
I never saw it.
It was terrible.
Okay, I'm sorry. I won't watch it.
No, don't.
Okay. In 2014, another film titled Godzilla was released in America as part of Legendary Entertainment's Monsterverse, another attempt at a shared universe. They cannot help themselves. And this one had positive reviews and was a box office success. The sequel, Godzilla King of the Monsters, is set for release on May 31st, 2019. There is also another sequel planned for release in March of 2020 called Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah.
Which sounds fun. So the Monsterverse thing is actually happening, I guess.
Yeah. The 2014 Godzilla is actually pretty good.
You've mentioned. That's the one with Bryan Cranston?
And Aaron Taylor-Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen.
I have not seen it, but I should.
It's good. It's pretty good.
Now I'm kind of interested. I wasn't interested before. Yeah, that was it.
Cool.
Yep.
I like some Godzilla. I love the old ones. Like, they're so goofy and weird, but
I've never
funny.
seen any Godzilla movie.
They're fun.
I really should. Have you seen the Toho ones?
Some of them, yeah.
Cool.
I remember, like, when they started getting, like, really goofy and, like, directed at kids, like, Godzilla had a son.
Yeah,
named,
they talked
like,
about
Manila or something, and it's just, like, this little, like, bouncy little baby dinosaur thing. Like, it's so strange.
I saw that when I was reading, but I was like, I don't know if this is worthwhile information.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of interesting facts about Godzilla, probably trivia relevant stuff.
Yeah, you didn't mention my favorite Godzilla adversary, who is Rodan.
Oh, sorry. I thought Mothra and King Ghidorah were the big ones.
They are the big ones. Rodan is like a second tier one, but I always liked him.
Okay, well, shout out to Rodan.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
So that's it. We're tied 2-2.
Yep.
Because we have to write easier questions.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun when it's hard. I don't know.
Let me see what
it's a challenge.
I have my next game like mostly sketched out, and
don't tell them that. Then they'll know that I'm not as ahead as you.
Well, I haven't written it yet. It's just like I know kind of what it's going to be about.
Oh. That's a thing I know.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be as hard as this one.
Okay, I'll try to make mine slightly less hard too, but it's just a fine line between writing like a difficult question that's also not impossible.
Yeah.
And also, I don't know everything you know, so it's hard. And also, I feel like it's fun for the listeners when we don't know something and they do. That's got to feel good. It's like on Jeopardy when no one gets final and you do, and it's just like the greatest feeling.
Are you really comparing us to the people on Jeopardy?
No. Give us a few more years. Maybe we'll get there from all of these discussions. We'll learn.
It's a big part of why we're doing it. Yep. So, all right.
I think that's it.
Okay.
Are you good?
I'm good.
All right. So we will see you next week.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye. In Japanese, his name is pronounced
Gojira.
I know that. Thank you. I just can't speak.